Hello world, this is Richie from the band Elidi, and today I'm going to give you a longer breakdown of our song Funeral Rites from the new album Angora Anime. So this one's going to be about the session and showing you how I wrote the song. The place to start with is the sample that I started the song with. So I wanted to find something that was kind of a bit of an inspiration, something that had a vibe and a sound to it. And so I found this sample. I think this is how it was originally. So that's what it was. But I dropped it some semitones and slowed it down, so then it kind of ends up having this quite different sound to it. So slower, sadder, and I think it exaggerates a bit of the stretchiness in the sound. And then I was just sort of layering up other sounds to give it more of a scene, like I'm trying to paint a picture with this thing, and adding a little bit of guitar in there. I think that came in quite a bit later. Just rhythmic sounds that weren't like a drum. There's like a bit of a heartbeat sort of a thing going on there, and there was some really cool rhythmic things that I had. So I had these like clicks and claps, rope pulls. These sound like ropes, and I got some clicks in there. That's the clicks, and it's just digging into the scene and just being like, what's going on here? What's the story? And that's the scene that I was telling you about, carrying the coffin in the stormy nighttime. And then at some point I got to adding those arpeggios in there, some actual guitar parts, when I've kind of built it up to the level where I'm like, okay, I know what's going on here. Now I want to start putting some guitars. I want to build a bit more of the intensity. And then this was a song where I wrote it from start to finish in that order. So after having built up this soundscape, I was then like, okay, I need to have, now I've got my soundscape, like where's the song going? And I really felt like kind of building up this dramatic scene, and then I've got to have some moment of intensity. So went into a riff section after that, and just something really heavy. This was something that definitely got iterated quite a bit. I don't think this is a one and done thing, and you'll hear the drums are pretty Sometimes my drums are good, sometimes they're pretty cut. I think leaving those heartbeat drums and then verse just dropping out, starting to build it back up again. Again, sort of strange drums. And I've got a different sample in here. I think there was two samples that were quite similar, and so I did the same process to these ones and chucked them in there. And there's quite a bit going on here. Like I've got some textural synths and some sub bass just to reinforce the bass guitar. I'm not actually sure how much of this actually ended up in the final version. And then I sort of went into the chorus, and I had quite a strong intention for this. So the song that I was inspired by for this was the song The Art of Dying by Gojira. So I really liked this end section that they've got in that song, where there's just an instrumental riff that just continues on, and it sort of feels like it goes on forever. And when I was writing this chorus riff, I wanted it to be something that I could just kind of repeat forever. So it's sort of like you get trapped in this nightmare and you're just stuck in the nightmare. And so it's the same thing. And it's really kind of the climax of the song. It's got all of that sadness, all of that heaviness. It's a combination of those two worlds that have already been explored. And it's just devastating. To see. And that just goes on for ages. See the loops there. And originally it was just like fading slowly over time. But at some stage it got changed so that there was a more hard cut off. But yeah, and then from the chorus we go into the second verse. So again with that philosophy of having two separate verses. So the first one is kind of setting things up and slowly building up. The second one, you're already partway through the journey, so we're kind of adding complexity to the problems or there's some conundrum going on. And yeah, I really like this kind of 8-dot guitar. Just adding this extra drama to the song. Drums pretty cooked, ended up getting simplified quite a bit, which was good. And then I've got this dropout section, completely different to what's in the final. Yeah, and it's definitely nowhere near as good as what ended up in the final, but the thing that I was trying to capture there was the sense of your reality shattering in a really intense way. The example to kind of illustrate that shattering of reality is, I remember seeing this video of a fake martial artist fighting a real martial artist. I think the real martial artist saw this guy's videos, and the way this guy fights is he just waves his arms around. He doesn't actually physically contact anyone, and people are just like flinging themselves around. And so this guy had been doing it for so long that I guess he and maybe the people that were around him kind of created this reality for themselves, and they thought, okay, well this is how things work. Like there's magical powers going on here, and we're just impacted by the magic. And this martial artist was like, I call BS. So he challenged him to an actual fight. And within seconds of the fight starting, this guy starts waving his hands around, and the actual martial artist just goes in there and punches him in the face, and really proves his point pretty dramatically. But I'd imagine for the fake martial artist, this was a complete surprise. And this is the thing about modeling your reality, is you can be catastrophically wrong about it, and reality can just smack you in the face. And you might think, oh, well, that can't happen, but it actually can happen. And sometimes that's just a moment that you can learn from and adapt. But sometimes it's game over. And this is something that I'm always nervous about contending with. It's like, well, where actually are we? And what do we have to watch out for and worry about and all those sorts of things. And that's just kind of how I'm like as a person. So, but I think it's quite interesting. And there's a couple of the ideas that we'd written, a couple of song things where there was moments where everything kind of the floor dropped away and you were left in this emotional chasm. But it got changed, and definitely for the better. But yeah, that's how I was feeling with those bits. And then so we go from that drop out into the final chorus, which is just this prolonged trap in the nightmare. And yeah, for this, I sort of had this idea for the vocals. I remember Dan came around here and we had a bit of a conversation about it. But I was like, rather than singing the chorus that we'd established in the first chorus, which is probably should repeat that because the chorus is like the most important part of the song. But for this one, I want to try something different. And rather than doing that, how about just kind of more of a spoken word, just yell into the void, really try to channel that despair and sadness and futility and those things that are, to me, quite present in the instrumental. And so that's what he did, and I just think he nailed it. So devastating. And like, as a live song, we've only played this a couple of times live, but it's just, you know, you're bringing people into that. I don't know, it's intense, and that's kind of what we wanted. That's what I felt the song needed. Just a different moment. Because I think writing music, for me, it's really compelling to try to push the boundaries, to try to do something, to try to figure out a way to convey things haven't been portrayed in quite the same way. Originally, our band was called Null, which is, you know, there's like 1,000 bands called Null, based on the Aleph Null, which is a mathematical term talking about sets of infinity. Not that I know much about maths, but I was really compelled by the idea of like music being, you're like mining infinity when you're writing music, because you can do anything in the space and you can just keep on exploring. And supposedly there are, well, I mean, just logically, there are more possible songs, like, you know, arbitrarily within a 3-minute window than there are atoms in the universe, because you can just put any combination of whatever into that. So as a musician, we're miners of the infinite. And speaking of infinite, so this is the closing song for the album. We knew it as soon as we'd written it that this was going to be the end of the album. And the start of the album was Itos, which was originally called The Beginning of Infinity, based on the title of the book, The Beginning of Infinity by David Deutsch. And I really like how we'd set that up, with one being the start and one being the end, because in The Beginning of Infinity, it's sort of an optimistic view of reality, or, you know, the future. Essentially, he argues that knowledge unlocks the potential to solve problems that are previously unsolved, and so long as we continue to create the conditions for discovering new knowledge, we can continue to solve problems that were previously unsolvable. And if we get that right and ride that wave, we can sort of, who knows what we can do with the future as we move through it, and who knows what could be possible within reality, because, you know, these fundamental paradigm shifts can really flip our sense of what's possible on its head. But I wanted to contrast that with this really despairing, hopeless, nihilistic sense of reality as well, because this is something that I feel quite deeply oftentimes, and I think it's really important to be honest with your thoughts and your feelings, and as a creative, having an opportunity to capture that and portray it artistically and really cut close to the bone. Yeah, I feel like that was really necessary. And, you know, it's good because people share these feelings, but it's also in some way putting these feelings out there in a song that's kind of away from you gives you an opportunity to look at it from a different angle and maybe lessen the weight of whatever that is. And especially like within a community setting, a cool little bit right at the end, which didn't end up in the final, but it's a nice little Yeah, so that's a longer form video breaking down the production session. Hopefully this was a bit more engaging in the sense that you could kind of sit with me with the song and puzzle it through rather than having it bits and pieces. But if this format works for you, let me know. I'm keen to do more like this, but if you prefer the shorts versions of these song breakdowns, then I can do that as well. I was just finding that when I was doing the video for this one, I was kind of keep going over time, and then I was like, well, I need more and more and more segments, and I think 3 is sort of the most that I want to be doing for any one song if I'm going to do it that way. And because there was so much to dig into with the song, I wanted to kind of make it a bit longer. But yeah, but if you're enjoying these and you're interested in this, then yeah, please like and subscribe, and also check out the album. We're really proud of what we've created. Awesome opportunity to get to work with George Lever and Nathan Smart, bring a vision to life. This is, a long journey for us as well. I think we've been a band for about 9 years now, almost 10 years. So yeah, really cool to do something like this. Really feel like we've captured a bunch of things that we tried to pin down creatively. Good exploration for us as individuals. And yeah. But yeah. If you like what we're doing, please support us by listening to our music and sharing it with friends who you think might enjoy it as well. And if you've got any questions or thoughts or feelings, keen to hear them. But yeah, thank you very much. And yeah, catch you next time.